Hi, I'm presenting a PetchaKutcha on advocating for arts integration in secondary schools. Usually, in U.S. public schools on the secondary level, most subjects are treated as standalone silos with little to no interaction with other subject matters. In this presentation, I will articulate why I believe students in secondary schools would benefit from more arts integration. I will also take accountability, because change can start with me. In Chapter 25 of Arts Integration and Education, key questions were addressed about making changes in arts education for both students and educators. Strategies that have been adopted in our field were scrutinized and praised, and of course, the ever-present question about sustaining high-quality arts education in our schools was addressed. My takeaway from the chapter is that positive change can happen in arts education when both students and teachers effectively advocate for arts education, when partnerships of teachers, teaching artists, arts educators, and non-arts classroom teachers work together to plan and execute meaningful integration experiences, and finally, when harmful perceptions are dropped. As a secondary theater teacher, I have often felt frustrated that the intrinsic instinct I feel towards arts education and integration is not reciprocated by the educational community. What I have done in the past is complain to like-minded individuals that this ought to be changed, grumbling that the system just doesn't get it. What I commit to do now and in the future is to thoroughly research arts integration methods that work in classrooms and communities. I will seek out more opportunities to have positive conversations about art integration ideas at my school, and I will attempt to effectively model to my students what advocating for the arts looks like. Admittedly, I, like my colleagues, am guilty of subscribing to the current standalone silo model we are used to. Sometimes it's felt easier to keep my head down and just tick off the boxes required for my job. Teachers' plates are full, and sometimes partnerships with other teachers can feel like one more thing. In an effort to change this paradigm, I will invest in meaningful partnerships with other classroom teachers. Examples may be theatrical units in the history class, also with teaching artists by inviting them into my classroom with clear goals and collaborations in mind, and with other art educators both in my building and in my district for school and community-wide collaborations. The scarcity mindset among art educators is another issue I will actively work to change. Instead of reporting that arts programs are a charity case and need money thrown our direction because no one else will help, I will actively and articulately explain and demonstrate the value of the arts while including community partners in this effort. In my research to initiate change in secondary arts integration, I have found both school and community-wide initiatives that I feel are promising for secondary education. I realize there is no one-size-fits-all solution. However, I do feel the more we examine what has been done, the more we will realize what is possible in our own schools and communities. The first approach I researched was a school-wide policy approach in arts integration. Brittany Harker Martin was an arts integration specialist at 2 separate schools in Canada. She found that the schools in Saskatchewan required weekly minutes in each art form from grade K through 9, resulting in high artistic proficiency. The schools in Alberta did not require weekly minutes in each art form. Rather, teachers were encouraged to integrate art activities with core learning. What Martin observed was that although the Alberta schools had great intentions and wonderful partnerships, they did not build the same proficiency as the Saskatchewan schools. After observing both schools, Martin felt there were benefits and consequences to both. In Saskatchewan, the students were receiving exceptional artistic development with limited application skills, and in Alberta, the students were receiving more engaging pedagogy, but they were only dabbling in artistic development. B. Martin 2017 argues that teaching arts as a second language school-wide can be an effective way to bridge the gap of the 2 school methods mentioned. Martin states that the 2 common problems in art education are when arts integration is disconnected from artistic development, and when discipline-based arts education is disconnected from learning. The framework Martin lays out addresses the 2 problems by interweaving introductory arts integration techniques within a structure of building art skills and foundations in student education, much like you would a foreign language. Arts fluency, like language fluency, takes time. Morton proposes that by slowly building both aspects, a student avoids the pitfalls of repeating introductory lessons and builds upon frequent exposure and artistic fluency. The next method of art integration I researched was a community arts-based opportunity designed for Erie City School District in Erie, Pennsylvania. According to R. Schmeller, 2017, schools often operate in isolation. By expanding portions of their student body into the community by way of a community arts project, the Erie Public Schools discovered multiple positive outcomes. Journals and reflections indicated that students found empowerment, ownership, and responsibility in the project. Teachers also conveyed that perceptions of students drastically shifted during the initiative. Teachers witnessed cooperation, community ownership, and were surprised to see their students became powerful advocates for issues in their community that were important to them. There are multiple case studies and wonderful examples of successful art integration projects. A lot of work has been done on the why, but the how is where things can get daunting. From my standpoint as an art educator, it's up to us to creatively solve the how with our communities, districts, colleagues, and students. In my own school community, I have challenges that frighten me to address. The silo approach is struggling to serve the students of Granger High. Many students don't take art classes because they don't feel like they're relevant to them. With research in hand, I plan to do something different in arts education for the betterment of my students, myself, my colleagues, and my community. I acknowledge the challenge my call to action surfaces. Public schools often lack funding, time, and resources. These roadblocks can be frustrating and discouraging. However, the case studies I mentioned are promising. With creativity, teamwork, and passion, I believe secondary schools can find ways to cross bridges and use the arts as a valuable tool for learning. Here are my references for this PetchaKutcha. Thank you for watching.